Welcome to our 5 on 5. We're pleased to be joined by Senator Ron Wyden. Senator, good to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me back.
Of course, and you're among the many people who came out to honor our fallen veterans at Eagle Point National Cemetery today. I can only imagine how many of these sorts of events you've been to, but they're all so powerful.
What's really striking about Eagle Point is I kept thinking of all these so-called political experts back in Washington, D.C., who are always saying, oh my goodness, the country is just hopelessly divided. And I just looked out at the crowd at Eagle Point and I said, I don't see division. I see unity. They're not going to see grave sites and talking about who's Democrats and Republicans. They're there because they understand that honoring our fallen soldiers is important.
Speaking of our veterans, a new report details how problems with staffing levels and electronic records at the Roseburg VA could be undermining care for our vets. What's your response?
It's a very troubling report, and we're following it up. I mean, I've been after them in terms of their electronic records for some time. This report indicates how serious the problem is, and they're playing catch-up ball in terms of staffing. They're going to have to do better.
I know you're holding several town halls the next couple days. Tomorrow at 12:45 at South Middle School in Grants Pass, then Gold Beach Tuesday night at 5:30. Wednesday you're at North Bend High School at 10 a.m., then at Reedsport Community Charter School at 1 p.m. You've done a lot of these town halls. What do you like most about them?
Well, I think a lot of Oregonians feel Washington, D.C. might as well be Mars for all the connection it has to their life. And when I can come and answer questions about prescription drugs and roads and transportation systems and housing opportunities, then suddenly it doesn't seem so remote.
You chair the Senate Finance Committee. Recently, you held a hearing on the challenges of rural health care. Is there anything that can be done in the Senate or perhaps your committee to help rural health providers that are struggling?
There is. We've got jurisdiction over Medicare and Medicaid and CHIPS, the Children's Health Plan. So we're in a position to move the machinery of the federal government around in terms of health care. And what I'm in particular looking at is trying to help rural programs with the kind of conditions on the ground, like say they aren't having many babies, so they have maternity challenges. And I think they should get additional financial help as long as these big healthcare chains don't try to take the money and run.
The same committee held a hearing last week about fentanyl and combating addiction. How can that committee create change in battling this deadly drug?
There are two big pieces to the fentanyl challenge. One is we've got to crack down on the practices that have it all coming from China and elsewhere. I want more penalties for money laundering and sanctions and a stronger deterrent. Then with respect to the health issues, I mean, this is such a dangerous drug, and we've got to make sure that there are opportunities for folks to get medication. I've been able to expand that through Medicaid, but these big insurance companies now are stonewalling, and we've got to crack down on them.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. Much more with Senator Wyden in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with U.S. Senator Ron Wyden. Senator, real simply, should the federal government ban TikTok?
Certainly, there are national security issues here. Their relationship with the China government is very troubling. I think before we start talking about that, we ought to make sure that there are First Amendment issues that are addressed and privacy questions. I will tell you, I'm very strongly opposed to this idea that Steve Mnuchin, who was Secretary of Treasury, had access to a lot of classified information, would get to lead a group of American investors. I like the idea of transitioning to American ownership, not Steve Mnuchin.
You recently called out the Postal Service leadership for both its price hikes and its poor service. What was its response, and are improvements coming?
Well, they're still stonewalling. I mean, they really have not fessed up to the nature of the problem, and that is that some of their policies just defy common sense. We hear about mail to rural areas not going directly to rural areas, it goes to urban areas, and then suddenly you have to have this uphill journey to try to get to rural communities. Some of this is common sense, and DeJoy, the head of it, has to recognize that.
You're part of a group introducing legislation that would create children's savings accounts for every single child in Oregon and nationwide. Where is that one today?
Right now, we're just having the hearings. We're going to have a big tax bill in 2025. The Trump tax cuts expire. And I want to make sure that everybody in America has a chance to get ahead. If you're a billionaire, and we all value success tremendously in our country, you've got a lot of opportunities. I want to make sure those kids who are born in a family that doesn't have much get a chance to save too.
Lastly, Trailblazers legend Bill Walton died today at 71. You tweeted about your friend. What would you like to say about him?
Bill Walton had an incredible gift for basketball, and he had an even bigger gift for making people feel exhilarated about life. When Bill Walton came to Oregon, and he came an awful lot, and he'd get out of the car in his green and yellow tie-dyed t-shirt, you knew we were going to be smiling.
He's a great player. Good to see you.
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.
All right. We'll be right back.